All right, so again, I'd like to welcome you to Phase 1, Session 2, Beginning User, AuthentiSign Basic Essentials. Again, my name is Dean Strong. I'm one of the trainers over here at Lone Wolf, and it's my job to make sure that by the end of this session, you have at least a good foundation on AuthentiSign. All right, so let's take a look at our objectives. So starting with creating a new signing, walk you through the steps on that, probably create a brand new transaction since that's pretty easy to do. So you can kind of see the whole schematic of it. Is that the right word, schematic? Just the whole theme, if you will. Adding participants. Okay, so adding those parties to the packet as you're building it, importing the forms that are needed for it. Much of that will be done when you create the transaction, okay, but you're not limited to just what's coming off the transaction. If you need to go in there and just pull something kind of off the cuff, off your computer while you're creating a signing packet, you can do that too. Okay, and then uploading documents. Okay, and some people say, well, what's the difference between forms and documents? Well, hopefully by now, you know, I've continued to kind of say it, that there's a difference between forms and documents in TransactionDesk. The lingo kind of directs forms towards your libraries, those fillable forms that are in your libraries, versus documents, those external documents that you can't really fill out on the platform, but you can still run them through for signing. Okay, locating the required signatures, initials, and date stamps. Okay, so where do you see all that stuff at? And then lastly, understanding the participant steps to access. Okay, so we'll see what it looks like on their side. Okay, not just on the side of us, you know, but you know, there's going to be times when you may have a recipient call you, you know, that may not be tech savvy, and they just want somebody to kind of walk them through it, you know. And so this is going to kind of give you some experience under your belt, so you can kind of see, okay, well, this is what you need to do next. And I will say it's pretty easy for them. You know, if anybody has the work cut out for them with this, it's you. And we want that to be the case. We don't want that to be the case for your recipient. All right, so let's go ahead and get started right now. I'm going to bring my screen over. So give me one moment to do that. I'm going to freeze the screen right now. And you're going to see it change. Just like that. All right, so here we are in that famous agent dashboard of mine. Looks a little bland. I probably need to add some more, pull some more widgets down, just so I have more stuff in here. But you recognize the agent dashboard. You know, you can do a lot of things just in this area alone. You can even jump into the AuthentiSign area. Just to kind of let you know right off the bat, moving down to that third icon over here, the AuthentiSign one, clicking on this, okay? And you can see, you know, I've got some different signings that I've done over time. And just to kind of give you sort of a definition of some of these symbols that you're looking at. Of course, the ribbon, you might have guessed it, that means everything's done. You've already sent it out for signing and you've got it back. Everything's been approved, okay? In complete contrast to that is something that's just been started, okay? That's indicative of these little gears right here. So you started it, but you never really sent it out for signing, okay? And it's all gonna show up in this little signings area, okay? Now we look further down here, this one that I did a few months ago, that's a lightning bolt icon right there. And so the lightning bolt icon, that's letting you know that you sent it out, but nobody's really signed yet, or at least maybe a couple of people signed, but not everybody signed, okay? And then the one down here that I did quite a while back, earlier this year, says rejected, okay? So there may be people that you are pointing as reviewers in this signing process. Not necessarily they're signing it, you just want them to look at it, but still you've given them the ability to accept or reject that whole packet. And once they reject it, that will cancel out that whole signing packet. Okay, so keep that in mind. But these are the different symbols that you're going to see after you've gone through the process. They will reside in this area, along with residing, I guess really in the transaction as well. But you're getting kind of that global view in this signings section. Okay, but I mentioned before just a little bit creating a signing and associating it with a transaction. Okay, I think I talked about that in my basics. You can do that associated with a transaction, or it could be a standalone. Doesn't necessarily have to be a part of a transaction. Okay, it was just kind of unique. And when we do our one today, we are going to associate with the transaction because I'd probably say that's the most common, but you're not limited to that. All right, so from here, let's do exactly that. We're going to jump right into creating a transaction, and then we're going to utilize the AuthentiSign feature so you can kind of see it fully executed here. All right, so getting that offer going into the signing process, you got to create a transaction, of course. I moved to the transaction section. And just in the transaction section, I'm going to go over here to the right. You see my little plus sign add. It's never going to change. Every time you create something, it's always going to be a plus sign. All right, so let's give a name to this transaction. AuthentiSign transaction 7 or 17, or I don't know how many I've done. I've done a million of them. In this section, though, a lot of people will just use a street name. Okay, you're not necessarily limited or restricted to that. Now there are some ancillary products that you might use that are requiring you to put an actual address in there, because that's the only way they can really target it and pull up the information. But if you're using something like MLS Connect, it doesn't really care what you put in here. Okay, what's important is the listing ID. Notice I set this up where I had to add a template to this. Now that's because I'm a super user, and so when your agent account, it may not require for you to do it. Okay, so I'm just kind of speeding up the process in here by adding some things, some additional things here. Okay, so I added my template to this. I'm also gonna import some data since we got a little extra time. I want to kind of make the transaction look a little pretty, so I'm going to utilize my MLS feature here, and I need to find myself an MLS number. So let me hurry up and do that. Jump into realtor.com, Austin, Texas. Let's see what we got. That's a good looking property right there. It looks pretty decent. All right, let me grab this listing ID. All right, I think that was Texas. Was that Texas? Okay, I'm about to find out. Let me go back. Let's see what we got here. All right, so I plugged in my listing ID right here, just copied and pasted it. Of course, you can add yourself as a buyer's agent or a listing agent, or neither or both when you're doing these transactions. Gives you a lot of flexibility there too. Also, the use of this wizard I mentioned before, that kind of just shows you where you're at in the creation process. Go ahead and click on create. Oh, my listing data failed. All right, let me try another, try a different one here. I'll try this one over here. That's more money, but I'm just gonna run with that. See if it works. Nope. All right, my MLS is not working. That means, guess what? I got to kind of do this more by hand here. All right, so we got to plug in some information here. Oops, 1, 2, 3. Put in our property type, our status, okay, and whatever vital information else we want to add in here. Okay, being as detailed as we possibly can. All right, purchase price. Earnest money. All right, and then just keep going. This is only step 1. Still got 4 more steps to go. So we're going to click on the next. Will take us into that other critical information. Maybe put in an offer date, closing date. Those are kind of the nuts and bolts as far as dates. Move to my 3rd step. Okay, I had a template helping me out, so you can see that's why a lot of this other stuff has already been kind of plugged in here. But I'm going to add one more thing. And when you're adding these things, you know, you can do it in the transaction or when you begin the actual signing process. Okay, or not the signing process, but when you're creating the packet. Okay, so you're not limited to just this area because we haven't even gotten to the signing part yet. We're just kind of building the transaction here. So I'm going to add one more thing. I'm going to add an additional buyer. All right, and of course, remember if you want to add that person permanently to your contacts, you want to make sure you got this checked. Okay, and here's something in here that you might wonder what this is: preferred signature and preferred initials. Okay, well, this directly relates to AuthentiSign. Okay, even though this guy's name is John, for his preferred signature, he may want it to be Jonathan. Okay, so when he gets the area and he gets it back, he'll see that it's his formal name in here. Okay, and then he may want to use his middle initial too when it comes to his initials in AuthentiSign. Okay, so preferred signature, preferred initials, they're talking about AuthentiSign. For you, that's what that means. Okay, and once you've got that in, I'm just going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so I've got him added, but there's also some other people that I need to add here. I wanted to add an attorney as well, and notice I had these already kind of set to go. I've got a buyer, an additional buyer and a seller. We'll just say that's his. We're going to say that's his wife, so we'll just call her Kate Buyer. All right, going to save her too, and we're going to add one more person here, and we'll say Anderson Seller. All right, and I was mentioning to you something earlier about that reviewer type, right? Okay, so the neat thing about it is you're adding a reviewer, and I'll add one of my existing people here. Okay, notice it just kind of brings up my my list of attorneys and all those people that I appointed as sort of these permanent contacts here. All right, so I'm going to add this guy. I'm going to click on add and type. I'm going to say buyer lawyer, and I'll click on save. Okay. All right, so that's all I'm adding right now as far as contacts. Let me move to the next one. Okay, and here's our forms area. Again, I added these forms already from a template, so you're giving yourself kind of a jump start when you use a template. Okay, so I had encouraged you to attend did a webinar yesterday, including the use of templates as well as checklists and tasks. And again, that's just giving you kind of a jump on things so you don't have to do so much when you actually get to that signature process. Okay, but if you need to add forms, whether you're doing it here or not, it's pretty simple to do. You're just going to go over the plus add as you normally would, and it's going to bring up your form libraries. Okay, and as you click on it, it'll expand it if you need to add any additional ones from there. I'm not going to add all these, but just kind of want to show you can do it in bulk. All right, so it makes it pretty simple for you. Next step, might have some documents that we want to add. You know, I'm just going to kind of add one document here. And again, I'm in the wizard right now, so that's why it's telling me where I'm at in the process. All right, so I'm clicking on my add sign. Notice this little menu that kind of pops up here. Adding a document's kind of unique in that you got a number of different ways in which you can pull that document in. Now, when you're in here and you're adding a document, initially it's letting you pull from your computer, okay? But you've got other places that you can pull from. If you've got it in your doc box area, okay, we call it our doc box area, which is a little box on the left-hand side. That's where we keep all our uploaded documents, or from a third party. Okay, so when we talk about third party, we're not talking about outside brokers or anything like that. We're talking about a cloud source. Okay, so if you select this, it's just going to bring up these different cloud sources, and if you have an account with any of these, you'll be able to pull from that. Okay, and then lastly over here is something called email upload. So even if you said, well, yeah, I forgot, you know, I got something on my my tablet or my device and I forgot to send it to my account, you can actually send it straight to this transaction. So just like you've got an email address for your account, which I showed you in yesterday's webinar, you also have an email address for every transaction that you do. Okay, so if you click on this, it's going to reveal the email address to this transaction, and you can send a document straight to it. Okay. All right, so we're going to kind of jump out of this, and I'm just going to add one document. I'm going to add a home inspection report to this. And, all right, so I just kind of threw that in there, and I'm going to say that I'm done with this now as far as building it. And now I can jump over to my signings area. All right, so I'll switch over to signings right here. As soon as I click on signings, it takes me to that special page, which, you know, this would show more than one signings perhaps in this particular transaction. It would list it for me. Right now, you can see I don't have any, but I'm going to start creating them now. So I'm going to move over to my plus add right here, and it's going to ask me, once I do this, do I want to go directly into the signing area? You know, yes, I do want to go into the signing packet area because I'm doing a webinar right now. So leave this checked, right? But for you guys, if you say, well, I just want to name it right now, I don't want to go right into it, you can leave it unchecked and you can just come back to it later. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and do it now. And I'll call this AuthentiSign sample signing. Do I know how to spell signing correctly? I hope you guys have confidence that I know how to spell. All right, sample signing 10, I'm going to click on save. It's going to jump me right into that area. All right, and so here we are. I'll make this a little bit bigger for you. Okay, so you can see we've got just a few steps here. Looks like 4, right? To keep this in mind, you only got 4 steps to do this, which makes it very, very simple. All right, so our first step is details. Just like when we were creating the transaction, that was the first step in that too. So in this case, in the signing packet creation process, notice we got our signing name right here. If I thought at some point I wanted to change this, I could do it right here. This is totally editable. And then the next thing is something called sign in line. Participant orders are either sign in line or simul-sign. Okay, so sign in line being if you want it to be in a sequence of order, you send it out to that first signer. In order for it to go to the next signer, that first signer has to sign it. Yeah, okay, in order for it to go to that third signer, that second signer needs to sign, etc. Okay, you may want it to be like that, or you may want it as a simul-sign. Okay, now in the case of simul-sign, everybody signs pretty much there's no restrictions. Okay, so they don't have to wait for each other to get finished. Everybody's able to sign it. First come, first serve is really what that means. There are certain things that you want to take under account. In a situation, if there was anything like a counter offer or something like that, you want to set it for inline. Okay, and I do another webinar for counter offers where actually using the sign-in line is absolutely necessary in order for it to really function at all. Okay, but in the case of SimulSign, you may prefer it that way. I'd probably say most commonly though, people want to use the sign-in line feature. That way they can kind of see kind of the sequence, who's done first, who's holding up the line, if you will, for lack of a better word. Okay, so we're going to exercise that just so you can kind of see it, sort of in the sequence of order. I'm not going to utilize the counter offer for this, but I would encourage you to attend that counter offer webinar. Let me know if you're interested in that, because there's always that possible variable. And I'll send you the link to that webinar so you can register for it. Okay, but you could say we're done with our first step, the details. Okay, so as soon as we're done, there's a collapse feature, allows us to collapse this area. All right, and I go ahead and do that. Now notice when I collapsed that, there was also some advanced details I could have selected too. Okay, these were my advanced options. Okay, I could have said not to set any kind of expiration date on this one that's sent out, set it to expire on a specific date. If I want reminders sent to that party, during certain intervals, I can select that as well. All right, so keep that in mind. You've got some additional options there as well. Okay. Also down here, the AuthentiSign ID position. Okay, so there's an ID for it, and you can choose where you want it to actually be located when everything is finished and done. There's also signature keys, which just show additional details on that when it's done. Now, if you don't want to, if you want those to be hidden, you can, of course, have this checked if you want. Some people don't necessarily like what the signature keys look like when they actually get everything back, okay? But you've got that complete option if you want to do it that way. Okay, again, if you want to collapse it, you're going to go up here and just click on the circle. That's going to collapse it. And then to expand, circle with the plus, you're going to click on that. So that jumps us into our next step, which is participants. All right, so if you remember, I added quite a few people to this transaction, okay, before we even got into this, okay? But like I told you before, if you needed to add somebody just kind of impromptu, you're able to do that right over here, okay? So right now, I can just kind of select people kind of all at once, okay? So I can say, okay, well, I got Kate Byer. Notice it's made her a remote signer automatically because the system's assuming that since this person a buyer, they're a buyer, that I want them to sign something, right? So it's going to make them a buyer automatically. But if I need to change them to something else, I can do that. Okay. Now we also have her husband down here, John Byer. Okay, he was part of the signing process. And then I've also got a guy named Anderson Seller in here that I added. Okay, and of course I could add myself as a signer if I want to do that as well. Okay, and I think the other one that was just kind of a little bit different that I wanted to add was it the lawyer guy? Yeah, he's down here. Okay, now watch when I select him. Notice it automatically makes him a reviewer. Okay, and that's based on the fact that when I was setting him up in the contact list, I made that his role. Okay, so the system's going to kind of automatically move it to that, but again, you're not limited to it. It's just assuming that that's what you want. So it'll all be preset for that, so you don't have to go and change it yourself. All right, so I got 4 people selected in here. So if I go ahead and click on add right now, it automatically adds all 4 of those people. Okay, now just in here, you can see it also had this sort of select sequence of order that it did things in. But if you don't want it to be in this order, as far as when they get it, each person, you can move this around. Okay, so notice over here, these kind of turn into crosshairs for you. So I can go in and say, well, I want John to be second. Okay, Kate's first, John's second. then Anderson, and then Henry's going to review it. Okay, so you notice they're all signers, so they got the little ink pen, but Henry's just got the little magnifying glass because he's just reviewing. All right, nice little cartoon illustration. Anybody can get this, right? I think I could probably show anybody how to do this. This is pretty straightforward, huh? Wouldn't you say? So we've got all these people in here. We got a chance to look it over, see if we got everything right. Okay, if you messed up on an email address or something, you know, it's possible that can happen. Okay, but you can always go back and edit that if you need to. All right, so I've got everything that I want here. If I need to remove any signers at all, I can do that right here with the X. If I need to go into the details on that signer, just click on the signer and it'll take me into those details. Okay, like I said, any corrections you need to make, just click right on the signer and go in there and do it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this now. And we can say I'm done with my participants. Okay, that was pretty straightforward. I know what order it's going to go in when it gets sent out. I'm going to collapse this. And I'm going to go to my next step, which is my documents. All right, so now this brings up all those forms and documents that I added. Now, and I told you before that there is a difference between forms and documents in the TransactionDesk lingo, right? So forms out of your library, fillable documents are from the outside, not fillable, but you can send them through for signing anyhow, okay? Even though it's called step 3 documents, so don't be fooled by that. They're really talking about forms / documents, so they combined them both in here. All right, so I just got a couple that I really want to use for this. Even though I've got, you know, quite a few on my transaction, I'm only going to send out this representation agreement, and I'm going to send out this home inspection report down here at the bottom. All right, and that's all I'm going to send out. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on add. Okay, so in the same manner in how it does it, and this just kind of gives you the layout. If anything looks odd in here, you know, you're still able to go in and change this if you need to do so. Okay, but everything looks good so far. I'm going to go ahead and click on close. I'm going to save what I got right here. And notice right here, it's giving me an order again. Okay, so this is the order it's going to be in when they receive it. So as they scroll through the signing process, the first form they'll see is the residential buyer tenant representation agreement. The next form they'll see is the HI report. I can always change this too if I want to do that. Okay, so I'm just using a couple forms, but you know, this might be important. You've used in 10, 15 forms. And to do it in that sort of sequence of order. Also tells you the number of pages right here that are being sent out before you do it. Okay, so there's other options up here. If there's additional documents you need to add, if you need to assign, you know, a checklist item or apply a layout to this, that layout is referring to if it's a form that's come from the outside, what you can do is you can tag it where you need to tag it at and save what you've done with that outside document. That way the next time around, you don't have to tag where it needs to go again, okay? Now the layout feature, we don't do that in this webinar, but we do it in our advanced session. So I'd recommend you attend that. Again, if you guys want to attend any of these sessions, let me know and I'll make it easy for you. I'll send you the link to the session, okay? But that's gonna be helpful in that when you get to those external documents, if it looks like it's the same document, you can kind of tag it in those same areas, okay? All right, so we've got this done. Okay, we got 3 things checked, 1 more to go. I'm gonna collapse this. This is our very last one here, our design step. This is the one that's fun. I mean, I think it's fun anyway. So far, you know, you might think, wow, if this is what you call fun, then you must be a boring guy. But that's not the case. I'm actually very exciting person most of the time. All right, so here we are, looking at our forms, right? We can kind of check things out by just kind of scrolling down with our mouse using our little wheel. You see everything here. Notice something unique for this form. I had buyers involved in this, so I've already got their places tagged where they need to sign at, okay? So I can just kind of skip through this one right here, and I'm gonna jump into the next thing that I added. Notice it's that home inspection report at the bottom here. Now, if you look at this one, you can already see it hasn't been tagged, okay, but this other form was. Okay, so for those external ones, that's where I was telling you your work comes in. So you got to do some work for this. Okay, now this is so your recipient, it doesn't have anything to do. All they've got to do is click on things, but you've got to drop and drag for those external documents. Okay, so let me show you how to do that. Right now, it's got Kate's name here, okay, because we had it in that sequence of order. But if we click on this little drop down, it's going to reveal the others that we want signatures on. Notice we don't see the lawyer on here because he's just reviewing. He's not signing anything, so he won't be a part of this, okay? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and drag and drop a few things. I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna click on the drag and drop button. And notice you got all these different options in here. The sign here, which is in red, makes it required for that person to sign it in order to complete it, okay? And the sign optional, they don't have to sign it to complete their signing process, okay? So you're deciding in here if you want that to be the case, okay? So I wanna make it mandatory for them to sign this. I'm gonna click on sign here. As soon as I do that, it's gonna generate a signature tag, letting them know where they need to sign at. I'm just kind of left clicking and holding, and I'm moving it down to that spot that I want them to sign it in. And I'm just gonna go down here and let go. And as soon as I do that, I may say, well, I also wanna add a time stamp so that when they sign it, it'll be time stamped. Okay, now I can do that two ways. I can go down here, click on this little gear, and I can say, well, I want a timestamp. So I'll select add date stamp. I'll left click and hold, move that over here. Okay, my other way of doing it is I could have gone up to the drag and drop here and selected this as date stamp. Okay, so there's two ways you can do it, either way. All right, so what else do I want to do with Kate? I may say I want an initial here too. I want her to initial this. I'll click on initial. Again, I chose the red one, so it's required. And I'll put this right next to it. And again, I can use a little gear, say add a date stamp or a time stamp, whatever I want to do, either one. All right, but I already got one for her signature, so I don't need that. All right, so I've got what I want for this. And if I'm done with her, now I got to move on to the next person. So I've got to go back up here and click on the drop down, and I'll select John. All right, again, I'll click on the drag and drop, sign here for him. I'm gonna stick his name right underneath hers. I'll do the same thing, click on the gear, add a date stamp. Again, left clicking and holding to move that to where I want it to be. And what else do I want to add? Click on the drag and drop again, maybe an initial under her. Notice his name in this now, instead of it being John Byer, it's Jonathan Byer now, because I remember I chose the preferred signature of that, and his initials are JBB. So again, that's what that preferred signature is all about. All right, and then we could just kind of keep going here. We're, we got the buyers where they need to sign at, and what if we wanted the seller to also sign in this? Again, they're in the drop down. I'll choose Anderson Seller. I'm going to click on the drag and drop feature again, put his name in, left click and hold. There he is, Anderson Seller. Maybe I'll put him on this side, or wherever I want to put him at. It's up to you. Make a date stamp for him. Okay. Ta-da. Okay, and there may be something else I want to add to this. What if there's some kind of a little caveat, something that he didn't tell them? It's like, oh, well, we're gonna go back up here to Kate, and we're gonna add this little markup here. Let's see if it pops up. Yeah, a little text box here. I'm gonna click on this text box. As soon as I do that, I'm gonna move down here, click in this area, left click and hold. I'm just kind of stretching this text box out. I'm going to type something in here, and it's going to say, back patio door damaged along with second garage door. And I'm going to say sold as is. Oh, okay. He didn't tell us about that. All right. But I go ahead and add this. This becomes kind of a part of it. And so, of course, when it comes to the rules, of associations and things like that, you know, you have to determine, okay, is this the proper way to do this, or should maybe I put something like this on an addendum or something like that, you know? So I'm showing you how to do this. I'm not saying this is the way to do it. So I don't want to get in trouble. You say, Dean told me I could just go ahead and throw something on here and that would fly. No, I'm not telling you that. But I am saying these are some of the markup tools that you are able to use throughout this area, okay? So these are different markup tools. So if they're allowed by your association, there's certain things that need to be struck out. It's going to allow you to do that with these tools. Also to kind of get around on the area, because I'm just looking at a couple forms here, but if you want to uh, zoom in or zoom out, you're able to do that, okay, using your plus add. Getting around throughout the area, it's going to allow me to just kind of jump down or back to those pages. Okay, just makes it a little easier for me in the process. I mentioned to you the layout feature. Okay, not going to execute it, just going to kind of show you though. If I wanted to save what I had as far as the placement, okay, particularly with this one, because this one I had to physically tag. Well, if I never want to do that again, I may want to save this layout for later, and then I can apply it to my next signing, okay? So that's what the layout's all about, okay? So these signature tags and all this stuff would be in the exact same spot, and I wouldn't have to worry about tagging it. Whoever that new set of parties are, their names would populate those areas automatically for me if I save this as a layout, okay? So keep that in mind. It's a pretty nice tool. Some of your other options here at the bottom, I can clear everything I just did, exit out of this, save my changes, and print and download. All right, so I'm kind of giving you a 101. We don't want to get too deep into this. This is supposed to be basics, right? So we're going to save something for later. All right, so we can say we're all done with this. Everything looks good so far. I'm going to click on my next button. And as soon as I do that, I've got some more options here. So let's see, AuthentiSign. Houston, can you hear me? Actually, I'm Austin, so I'm expecting it to go faster than Houston. There we go. All right, so you see this, finalizing the signing setup. So I got everything ready to go. Now I can just send my invitations out right now. What's going to happen is they're going to get a preset message that'll say, you know, so-and-so sent you this, go ahead, start signing. You know, it'll be the same message for every single person, okay? But if I want to be a little more creative, I can go down here to customizing my invitation emails for everybody, okay? Now notice these are blank right now. It doesn't mean they're going to get a blank message. It just means that if I want to say something else in here, I can do so. Otherwise, they're just going to get that typical preset message that AuthentiSign always sends, okay? So I may want to have something specific for this lawyer guy down here, you know, I'd say something like, you know, please review ASAP, you know, want to make sure everything is legit. All right, thanks, you know, whatever you want to say, obviously. But that's going to be the email that he gets, okay, instead of that preset AuthentiSign email. Okay, so I'm going to save this. I'm going to send out my invitations. All right, so it lets me know they were successfully sent. All right, so my job as an agent, for the most part, is done. You know, provided everybody's kind of knows what they're doing when they get this. Okay, we can't guarantee that everybody is savvy. Let me refresh this because you're going to see it turn into a little lightning bolt. Okay, so you see a little lightning bolt. Like I said, I let you know that you sent it out. Now you're waiting on these people to sign this in the order in which you did it in. Okay, you did it in that order, so it should be his wife first that gets this. Now, so far, are you guys following me? Can I get an amen out there or something to let me know you guys are still there? You know, we are working from home here, so we never know when we're going to lose our connection. So, all right, don't all jump in at once. Okay, the last comment I see on here is sweatpants. Okay, and sweatpants has also given me a thumbs up. All right, I appreciate that, sweatpants. You're on top of your game right now. All right, great. All right, some people like my sense of humor, some people don't. Some people are like, man, would this guy just get on with it? You know, please. I'm not a comedian though. I try not to be. All right, so notice a few things up here. So we've got our little lightning bolt here. If we wanted to jump into what this looks like so far, we can by just clicking on it. And this will just kind of give us this layout of what's been done and where we're at, okay, in the process. Well, so far where we're at in the process is that we did it, but nobody has opened it yet. Okay, if they opened it, we'll see it as authenticated. If they signed it, it'll be signed. Now it's going to be indicative of a flag. Okay, right now we just got this little clock thing to let you know we're still waiting on this person to sign this, okay, in this sequence of order. So as we move through this, you're going to see there's going to be different document versions. The first being the one that the first signer signs, and the second one being the first signer and the second signer, and the third one being, you know, the third if there was a third signer involved. And so you got these different versions in which you can select the ones you want to select that may be absent of the other signers if that's what you want. You may just say, well, I just want to see the one that has the two buyers' signatures on it. I don't want to see the other one. So this allows you to see the different document versions, and you'll be able to select that in here, okay? So we don't have any yet because nothing's been signed yet. We got the original document before it's been signed, but that's it, okay? So from here, let's go back, and I'm going to jump into my email now, and I got to pretend that I'm 3 different people, okay? So your presenter has a split personality, okay? Surprise, surprise. I'm going to go ahead, click on my all, and we see at the top, your signature is requested. So we'll move up at the top here. Okay, and look at here, you got hello Kate Buyer. Remember, she was the first one in line. You got this signature invitation. This is what AuthentiSign writes to everybody. Same message. Go ahead and start signing. She clicks on the start signing, takes her right into this area. Okay, so this is where you can kind of guide her through. She's kind of lost and say, okay, you know, I clicked on something and now I'm in, you know, Never Land. So show me how to do this. All right, so here she is in here. Okay, apparently I must have used her before. And that's the thing, it will save that stuff if we've used that person before in here. If there's a new font style, I can select, say, well, I want to use this font style today. So she selects that instead. She's like, my signature was lousy last time. Okay, go ahead and added her for that. And then she's going in, and of course, you know, she wants to obviously read these things, these disclosures and disclaimers, if you will. Okay, and then she'll click on accept. She's okay with everything. That'll allow her to proceed into the signing process. Now she's got 2 options here. She can go in and say, you know, review everything before she gets to the signing or starts it, or she can just click on the start, and that's going to jump her right to the areas where she needs to sign at real quick. Click on start, and as she's doing it, you can see the percentages filling out. That's letting her know where she's at in the signing process. But she's just clicking, so you can see how easy it is for her. Click 70%, click 80%, click 90, last initial. Oh, she sees the backdoor patio damage thing. Okay, so she's acknowledging that. She sees it. She'll click OK, and now she completes the signing. All right. Now, just in here, it says at the completion of the signing, you will receive an email that contains links to download fully executed signed documents. So everybody's going to get a copy of all the signed documents anyway. But also, anytime in the future, you can access the signed documents and signing history from our secure cloud dashboard using your email address and a password you enter below. Okay, so if you want to set up something, if they want to set up something, they can apart from that. If not, they'll just say no thanks. Either way, they're going to get copies of the signed documents. Okay, so if we go back and look now, I'm going to refresh my page. Go back for a minute. And now I'm going to go into it. You're going into it and you're checking your status every now and then. Okay, so we can see Kate signed it. Notice right here, she's got the flags. So the next person in line is John. Okay, he's going to be the next person that gets it, and it's going to be the same thing for him. Now, at any point, I still have the option to go in and edit some things for him. Okay, so if maybe I messed up on the email and I already generated the actual signing packet like I did just here, right? And it's like, oh man, I messed up on his. I can always go in and edit that information, you know, So keep that in mind. You do still have that option as long as they haven't opened it. Now, if I went in here and he had a flag for authenticated, then it would be too late to make whatever changes I need to make to that packet, okay? But of course, if it was the wrong email address, you would have never got it, right? But in the case of anything, what if it was something that, maybe the wrong documents or something else I needed to change? If he's already opened it, then, he beat me to the punch. But as long as he hasn't opened it yet, I can make changes, okay? And that goes for anybody in here. If I haven't opened it before it gets to them, if they haven't opened it yet, then I got a chance to make my edits. All right, so we're gonna go back, see if I got another email here. Okay, so here it is, next person in line, John Byer, goes in, does the same thing. You're gonna see a redundancy here as I'm doing this now. You're gonna be like, man, when is this gonna be finished? All right, so this guy does the same thing. Notice his name's Jonathan Byer instead of John, because he's cool like that. You're gonna say, I want to draw my signature. So it's gonna look just as bad as that first one that I showed you because I'm really bad at this, okay? We'll just pretend he's a doctor, and doctor signatures are supposed to be not very good because they don't want to be recreated. In my case, it's different because I don't have the salary or position of a doctor. We're gonna pretend that I do. All right, so here we are. And goes through the same steps, read, print, whatever you got to do, John, then accept it. If you're ready to go through with it, go ahead. Okay, now keep in mind, any of these guys can reject this. Okay, that's going to stop the process, really, okay, if they choose to do that. Otherwise, they'll go ahead and click on start. Same things here, clicking through it really fast. Boom, boom, boom. Not too crazy about that, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead with it anyway. Complete the signing. All right, so he's done too. Again, keep in mind he has that option to build this, have this little secure dashboard of his own if he wants to do things that way. All right, refreshing my page again. Again, we're continuing to kind of see where we're at in the process here, okay, as people sign it. Okay, and if you guys have any questions, go ahead and shoot. I know we're closing into our last 10 minutes. All right, so we're going to Anderson Seller. He's the next guy in line. Henry Wilson will be a little bit different because remember, he's a reviewer. So you'll get to see what that looks like. The little disclaimer that they have to read when they get it, it just says something different. They're not being asked to sign anything, but they're being asked to review it. So it's going to let them know that as well, whether they want to accept or reject that. Okay, strictly that. All right, looks like our traffic's moving pretty quickly here. All right, so our last guy is the Anderson Seller, or second from last guy anyway. Again, he's got that preset message. Start signing. Okay, guy, go ahead. All right, are you guys catching this so far? I know I've heard from a sweatpants person, but I haven't heard it from anybody else. But I think you are. I think you guys are kind of getting the picture here. Notice all I had him sign was the home inspection report at the bottom. Okay, so it took him straight to that. Completes the signing. Boom. All right, and then we got one more person. One more. It's Mr. Lawyer here. All right, Henry Wilson. Now look down here what's happened. Remember I told you you're getting different versions you can view. Remember I said the first version is just going to include Kate's signature. The second version document is going to include both Kate and John. Okay, and the third is all three. And then of course, lastly, you get Henry and everybody, although Henry isn't necessarily visible on it, okay? So you're just gonna get that full document that's been approved once he's actually done, okay? So we're not really done yet with the whole thing. until we got flags everywhere. Okay, so we got our last guy here who we're still kind of waiting on. Okay, so let's see if he got it yet. Not yet. I'm gonna refresh my page. Nope. All right, this is your opportunity to ask me some questions. If you have any for me, you're a quiet crowd. I hope it wasn't because of my first question, asking about your favorite quarantine outfit. Okay, now everybody's feeling self-conscious. Okay, what you have as a quarantine outfit is entirely up to you. I'm going to leave that up to you. You can wear whatever you want. That's the great thing about working from home. You can wear whatever you want, right? Unless you got your cameras on for your Zoom meetings, you know, then you can't. All right, but let's see what we got so far. I'm going to refresh it one more time, see if we got it now. Okay, so you see we got a message up here that's different than that other message. This is the one I specifically typed in. This is my customized one. Okay, so he gets that. And even though it has this on here, it's got my message in here additional. Want to make sure everything is legit. Thanks. You know, the initial title of the email, though, is please review ASAP. So I changed it a little bit for this guy because he's a lawyer. Okay, now he gets it. And again, it's going to look a little different from him, you know, because he's not signing anything. All right, so you see a little short message here. By clicking accept, you agree to the terms of the service and the end user license agreement. Okay, EULA. All right, and he's got a little disclaimer here as well. He can print and download this too. Okay, and he goes over here and clicks on accept. He's just accepting the responsibility, and he's just going to kind of go through and check everything out. Okay, these are his two options here: accept, reject, or exit it. Come back to it at a later time. Okay, again, if he rejects this, it's going to have that little cross symbol on it that I showed you, that circle with a slash through it. That'll cancel this whole thing out. So all that precious work that you did, you know, you want to hope that he accepts everything. Otherwise, that kind of messes things up. But you can see in here, he's viewing the signatures, you know, where everybody's signed at. He's able to see in here whatever looks legit, you know. He looks at this little caveat right here, back patio door. He's like, oh man, you guys should have used an addendum or something like that. I'm going to reject that, or whatever, you know. Or he could say everything looks okay here. All right, so he looks it over. Everything's fine. If he clicks on accept, he'll get the same little box that kind of comes up here, only it consists of accepting, staying and reviewing, or resetting whatever's been done here. So he's going to go ahead and click on accept documents. Okay, and again, this is an optional thing. Okay, you can always add a password to this as a user. Okay, so keep that in mind that they have that option. A lot of people opt out of it because they're like, well, I'm going to get the signed documents anyway, so I'm good. All right, so we're going to go back, and now we're going to see that everything has been done. Okay, so see we got a little symbol here now, a little ribbon. That lets us know everything is finished. And once we're in it and kind of reviewing it, you can see we've got other things we can do. So we got the final document that has everybody's stuff on it. We got all these other ones in the original document before everybody signed it. Okay, all of these are PDFs. Okay, if we look a little bit further down here, some separate signed documents. Okay, if we wanted to get copies of these separately, okay, we have the opportunity to download a certificate document just for that one document, or just for the home inspection report for one. Okay, so we can take those individually as well. There's a history tab at the bottom, and that's just kind of giving you that sort of digital paper trail on what occurred throughout it. The participants being added from the very beginning to the request that you sent out. Okay, all of that stuff being recorded in here. That can be important, you know, at times. If someone wanted to ever audit this, they'd have all this available. Okay, just at the top here, they got a few other options for you. Okay, being resent. If you want to view that certificate copy, upload this to a cloud source. Okay, if you want to throw this on your Google Drive or something. And then also, this should be giving me some symbols here. If I click on this, this takes me right back into it. Okay, if I ever want to view it again. All right, but do you guys have any questions for me? This is kind of a lot of information that I gave you. I either did a good job on this or everybody went to sleep. I'm going to assume I did a good job, and don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm going to give you my email address just so you guys have it. It's D as in David Strong at L as in Larry Wolf.com. So D Strong at lwolf.com. All right, so feel free to reach out to me. And again, you know, I'm clicking on this because I want to get that, once you kind of see what it looks like, as that more pretty, is that the right way to say something? Prettier copy of it. If you want to submit this maybe to, you know, someone else, and you want them to see it more as a nicer looking certificate, this is what people will get, as opposed to what, you know, you look at where you see a lot of the computer jargon. This would be nice to like send to somebody. It's a lot more polished. This is a certificate, okay, showing all those details that are needed, okay, minus all that extra stuff, okay, just the important stuff in here. All right, if you want to view it as a PDF, you can see it that way as well, okay. All right, but looks great on the, you know, especially if you got a color printer. And, you know, just take the time to play around with this. And that's all I've got for today. All right, so I want to thank you guys for joining me for today. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to me if you've got those lingering questions. Always ask. Okay, again, if you have any technical issues at all, okay, it's not always something where you say, well, I'm trying to understand it. Could be a technical issue. Okay, we need to know about it. Our customer care is 1-800-668-8768, and that is support@instanetsolutions.com. All right, so keep that in mind. And again, about those other webinars, the advanced one, AuthentiSign, you know, let me know. You might be interested in those. Like, what was that layout all about? I wanted to know more about it, or I want to know more about this. I have to withhold that information from you. I don't have to withhold it from you, but don't hesitate to ask a question during a webinar, you know, even if it's about something else. I mean, if I have time to answer it, then I will. Okay, absolutely will. Either way, I'm going to answer it, even whether it's during the webinar or following it. But you know, we're here for you, and you need to know that whatever changes that we make, they're made to accommodate you. They're not made to accommodate us. So keep that in mind. You guys take care, and as always, stay safe. Bye-bye.